All right, live. What's up? So this is the plan for today. There's still people streaming in here. Uh, Again, I gotta do a video on how YouTube is just completely screwing political channels, um, because that's what they're doing. Uh, Before I get into anything on this debate, the views and subscribers on my channel have just dropped completely. And it's not just my channel. If you can look on Social Blade, the website, and you can check other political channels, we've all dropped. YouTube is they've changed their algorithm in a way where they are only recommending like MSNBC, The Daily Show, CNN, Fox News, and independent political channels like mine are no longer being put into suggested videos, no longer on autoplay videos, any of that stuff. So this is what I'm doing today. Somebody said to get on Twitch. Radagast Radagast Flabbergast. That's a great name. I'm going on Twitch live with the debate when it starts at 7. So, or even before then. So I'll probably go on maybe even 6:30. I'll go onto Twitch. So I'm going to start on here, give a little preview of the debate, and then hop over to Twitch, twitch.tv/The Rational National. You could even open up that window now in a separate window, and it'll automatically go live once I go live there. That way, I mean, it isn't just about building an audience on Twitch. It's also YouTube is really weird with copyright stuff, so I'm not sure if I could even play the debate on YouTube without getting a copyright strike. So, but I'll try it on Twitch and then live stream it, discuss it, all that stuff. So, sorry, I just got distracted by someone that said, QWERTY1 just posted, Canadian politics suck. I'm far right and would never want to vote for the Conservatives or the PPC. Who would you vote for then? I'm really curious. If you're conservative, if you're far right and you don't support, or you wouldn't support the Conservatives or the People's Party of Canada, who would you support, or what would make you support a party? That's an interesting comment there. All right. So yeah, basically YouTube screwing us. I'm going on Twitch again. People that are just coming in, I'm going on Twitch live for the actual debate at 7 o'clock Eastern. So or around 6:30 here. All right. So let's do a little read through here of what's going on. So here we go. I'm gonna read pieces of this just so we get gotta get this off. Just so gives you a little primer for what to expect tonight, how the debate's going to be laid out. So 6 leaders are going to be on stage for tonight's debate. This is, I believe, the most amount of leaders in a debate or on a debate stage since I think 1990. I was reading that somewhere. But so this is usually we don't have 6 people on stage. It's usually, I mean, at most 4, maybe 5, in the case of Bloc Québécois when they're in the debate. But generally it's the Conservatives, the Liberals, the NDP, and sometimes the Greens, sometimes the Bloc Québécois. We don't usually get 6. So this is kind of a huge, I don't know, downgrade or upgrade, depending how you look at this. Because the people that are, I mean, right here, Maxime Bernier, he's the reason this number is so high. In case you don't know, maybe you're not from Canada. Actually, I welcome a lot of people who are not Canadian to be checking this debate out. But basically, Maxime Bernier, this guy here, the leader of the People's Party of Canada, he was in the leadership race for the Conservative Party, led by Andrew Scheer here, and he lost to Andrew Scheer just barely. And after he lost, about maybe a year later, a few months later, I think it was a year later, he decided to form his own Conservative Party, the People's Party of Canada, which is a far right party. So it's kind of what you would think of, I guess, Donald Trump or the Republican Party, at least in the sense of on cultural issues, on social issues. So very anti-immigration. But they're also, I mean, he's also not a fan of corporate giveaways. So it's kind of this weird line where I don't know. You could maybe potentially agree with him on some issues, but because of how horrible he is on race issues, on immigration issues, he is not somebody you would want to support. Um, Andrew Scheer, the typical conservative. Jagmeet Singh, he's the leader, the new leader of the NDP. Justin Trudeau, of course. Elizabeth May, and Blanchette. Now, I honestly don't follow the Bloc Québécois all that much. They're really only important in Quebec, obviously. So I just don't know all that much about him. Um, Elizabeth May, I ran as a Green Party candidate in 2015. I'm more leaning towards the NDP this time, but I still I like Elizabeth May generally. But let's get to what to expect from this debate. So it's the first English debate with all the leaders on stage. So there was a previous debate with Andrew Scheer, Elizabeth May, and Jagmeet Singh. Trudeau did not take part in that debate. He's only taking part in the official debates. Though he was in the TVA debate last week, the French debate, I don't think that counts as an official debate, but he was in that debate. So this is really the first main debate where everybody's on stage. And it's going to be divided up into these different issues. So it's going to be a 2-hour debate into 5 segments with their own distinct theme: affordability, environment and energy, indigenous issues, leadership, and Canada on the world stage, polarization, human rights, and immigration. And let's just read through this. The segments will feature a question from an ordinary Canadian, a question from one of the 5 moderators, a question from one leader to another, and then a period of leader-to-leader debate. An ambitious agenda to work through in a relatively short period of time. All told, each leader will have less than 20 minutes of speaking time to make a personal pitch to voters, while also mounting a coherent attack on their opponents, an enviable task. Time will be short. There is considerably less time tonight than was allotted to each of the leaders in last week's French debate on TVA, which had just one moderator, 4 participants, and no questions from the viewing public. If the moderators don't speak for a second, which my guess is they will, as questioners, that's 20 minutes over 2 hours per leader. It's not a lot of time, but this is their big shot. So this is the other issue with having 6 people on stage. As you know from the Democratic debates, those 6 would be a huge improvement over the 12 that's going to happen in the next debate on October 15th. 6 people, the more people, it means less time for each of the candidates. And when it comes to, when it comes to certain candidates, without naming any names, it's a little annoying that there are people on stage that really will not have much of an impact. At least their party won't in this election, but they're going to have as much time, I guess we assume, as everybody else will. So that's it's a give and take, because obviously this is a democracy. It's important that we hear different voices, of course. But like the Bloc Québécois, I don't need to hear you for the same amount of time as every other leader that's competing in every riding. All right. Let's see if there's anything else interesting in here. So I guess there were 9,000 questions submitted by voters, and they're going to reflect that in this debate. Okay, again, if you're arriving late, I'm live streaming the actual debate on Twitch after this stream, so I'll probably leave here in about 10 minutes. If you have any questions, super chat's your quickest way to get to me, but otherwise I'll take some random chats as well. But yeah, so it starts at 7 Eastern. So I guess the thing to really expect in this debate, or the thing I expect in this debate, is I expect Jagmeet Singh to finally make a name for himself. Because of how our elections have been covered generally, the focus usually has been on the Liberals and the Conservatives. So it's been, Scheer versus Trudeau. To be fair, I mean, CBC does make the effort to represent the NDP. Occasionally, the Greens get represented. But the focus is just always going to be on Conservatives or Liberals, especially, with the way the polling has been. In fact, let me bring up where the polling's at right now. So on Friday, I gave an update on the where the polling is sitting at, and I believe the Conservatives were ahead by like 1%, and now I think it's flipped. I think the Liberals are on top. Yes, indeed. So we see here, Liberals are up at 34.3%. Conservatives down to 33.8%. And NDP still at 14.5%. So the NDP's kind of been hovering between, anywhere between 10 and like 17 points. Greens are down. So this is actually the lowest I've seen them. Because at times the Greens have been up to 10, 11, maybe even 12% in some polls. They're down at 8.9 right now. Bloc Québécois 5.5, PPC 2, and other doesn't really matter. So looking at the seat projections here, Liberal. So even though it's really close up here in terms of the polling when it comes to the popular vote, down here looking at seat projections, Liberals are still out ahead. So there's still a much better chance for Liberals to form a majority, or right now they're really sitting in minority territory, but they could still form a majority. Conservatives have a very small chance at forming a majority. You can see it here, 9% probability. Liberals, 29% probability at forming a majority, 33% for a minority government, or at least the most seats, and then from there they'd have to form a minority government. And NDP looks to have no hope here. But I will say, Jagmeet Singh's popularity has been going up. So even though it hasn't reflected in the actual polling of the parties, let me bring up Jagmeet Singh, because I've seen several polls now. Here we go. Let's check out Toronto Sun, which I don't normally read, but I have the story here. Singh rises quickly in leader approval ratings. So let's see where he's at. So yeah, it's very unlikely he'll be prime minister, but his approval ratings are going up. So while the party's polling at about 14%, his personal job approval rating has jumped to 33% in October from 22% in September. So he's jumped 10 points. Now, a big part of this is because he's essentially been ignored up until this point. So most Canadians had no idea who the hell Jagmeet Singh was. He was an MPP in Ontario, so he never had a national profile before he became the leader of the NDP. And even when he became leader, he wasn't really talked about until, of course, this election. So you see him on television more, and in the moments when he's been shown, I mean, the times where he's made news, he's been impressive. So he's had to deal with a lot of racism, just like in his face. And look, I say this because it's important to say this. We should not expect Jagmeet Singh or any person of color to handle the racism that they face as well as Jagmeet Singh has handled it. It's just it's absurd that we have to deal with this, that he has to deal with this. So with that said, I think his ability to handle people that are so just completely racist and ignorant, his ability to kind of take a backseat in a way where they are he's listening to what they are saying, but also at the same time trying to be like the recent example where I had a video on it, where a guy came up to him in Montreal and told him to cut his turban off. And this is a guy who appeared to support him. So it's like an older man, older gentleman, came up to Jagmeet Singh, whispered in his ear, "Cut your turban off, you look like a Canadian." And yeah, I mean, how do you expect people to take that? I mean, it's crazy how well Jagmeet Singh took that. He's like, "Well, sir, Canada represents all kinds of people, all kinds of cultures. Canadians don't just look white." Or he didn't say that, but that's what it is. I mean, that's how that man's thinking. That man thinks, "Hey, you're in Canada. To me, Canada equals white people. You're not white. You're wearing a turban. Cut your turban off. Look more Canadian. Appeal to more people." That's what that man is saying. But that's not Canada. Canada is multicultural. I mean, Canada is all about accepting all sorts of cultures, all kinds of immigrants, all kinds of people. Just because, generally, I mean, just because Europeans, white Europeans, stole this land from indigenous people, does not mean that now means Canada's white. That's not how it works. It's like, how is this white man who probably has ancestors from France, England, wherever. How is that any different than Jagmeet Singh? It's not. Just two different immigrants from two different countries. So this idea that Canada's supposed to be white is a feeling that a lot of Canadians hold, especially older Canadians, but not just older Canadians, people that support the People's Party of Canada, for example. So if you're a supporter of that party, it's very likely you're white. That's why it's joked that that party is actually the White People's Party of Canada. But that's how it is. So Jagmeet Singh has been able to I guess appeal to people, maybe in sort of in that way. The way he dealt with Trudeau and blackface, also the way he phrases things, because he doesn't. It's not like he simply took offense to what those Trudeau images display, but he also connected it to policy. So he talked about how, it's not just about Trudeau and blackface, but it's about how he treats people of different cultures, of different backgrounds, different races. And he connected it to the Grassy Narrows protesters that were at a liberal fundraising event, paid their way into the event so that they could protest Justin Trudeau. And then Trudeau kicked them out. And while he was kicking them out, he said, "Thank you for your donation." In just like the most sly, disgusting way. Those Grassy Narrows protesters were fighting for clean water. There's mercury poisoning, historically, mercury poisoning in their water. They're fighting for clean water. And here he is kicking them out of his event saying, "Oh, thank you for your donation." So Jagmeet Singh, his ability to connect Trudeau's behavior in those blackface images to who Trudeau is today and how he treats these issues while pretending to be progressive, while having, for example, a gender-neutral cabinet, but then when he's challenged by his justice minister on the SNC-Lavalin affair, he then kicks her out and replaces her with a white man. So this is the problem. Trudeau is pretend progressive. He's the quintessential liberal, where it's all about identity. It's all about, well, if you say the right thing, if you say you're a feminist, but if you wear socks that have, flowers on them, well, that's all good. But how about the actual policies? Do you stand with people? Do you stand up with these Indigenous protesters who just want clean water? Are you aware of how this system has oppressed all sorts of people? Or are you just in your white liberal bubble where you grew up the son of a prime minister, grew up sheltered, grew up wealthy? You never had to deal with any real issues in your life in terms of fighting to survive, in terms of housing, in terms of money, in terms of food. People they're disconnected. If you grow up in a world like that, look, not everybody is disconnected. Many people that grow up like that, they want to understand what life is like for other people and maybe have gain some perspective and actually do something with their lives to help others. But many of them, as we've seen, if you're born into wealth, you're just completely disconnected from reality, whether it's Donald Trump, whether it's Meghan McCain, whether it's Trudeau. And obviously there's varying degrees in all of these people. They're not all the same. But the point here is that they are disconnected from reality. They're disconnected from the experience that many people have. So I hope that gets exposed tonight in this debate. I think Jagmeet Singh has the ability to do that. He has the potential here to really fight for a progressive, forward-thinking vision for Canada. I hope that comes off. I also hope Elizabeth May does the same. So, yeah, I think we'll come out of this debate with Jagmeet Singh having a great performance, because when he's been given the opportunity, he's done well. When he's on television, he does well. I mean, that's how you grow 10% in support in a month. When you have the exposure and you know how to use it, you'll gain in support. And Jagmeet Singh has so far showcased that. I feel like when it comes to the other leaders, or when it comes to Andrew Scheer, for example, because I see him as he's so phony. Like, if you think Justin Trudeau was phony, and I agree with you, I do think Justin Trudeau comes off very phony. Andrew Scheer more so. I think that'll come through in this debate. I think that's just who he is. Andrew Scheer is a guy who, for him, it's all about playing politics in the actual strict sense of the phrase. Like he just plays the game. To him, politics is like, playing sports. We saw that with how he is addressing this issue now about him being a dual citizen. In his past, he has criticized other politicians for being dual citizens. Again, I've said this before in my other video on this. I don't care. I don't care if you're a dual citizen. I don't care how many citizenships you have. Why does it matter? It's amazing to me this is ever an issue. But the conservatives have made this an issue in the past. Andrew Scheer made this an issue in the past. And then it comes out that he's a dual citizen. He's also an American citizen and a Canadian citizen. Oh, well, when I was doing it, when I was calling out other people, well, I was just asking questions. Like the gall of someone to just act like, oh, well, I mean, sure, I was just asking questions. You were treating politics as a game. It's about people's lives. But Andrew Scheer will do whatever he can to get ahead. So if it means attacking somebody for being a dual citizen when he himself is a dual citizen, he doesn't care. He'll do it. No shame. That is not the kind of leader I want. So, as bad as, or as many criticisms of Trudeau as I have, and I barely got to any of my criticisms, but as many issues that I have with Trudeau that I do, Andrew Scheer is worse. He just is. And we're heading towards a potential, I hope, liberal minority government. And if you have a situation like that, where it then forces the Liberals to maybe work with the NDP on some issues, then I think that's the best case scenario for Canada right now. So majority governments are great if they're a government that actually cares to do anything. So that's the real issue here. And anybody that tries to tell you, because look, people can make the case, and they've made the case, well, but I mean, if you support the NDP, if you vote for the NDP, well, that just gives Andrew Scheer a shot at winning. The Liberal Party, Justin Trudeau, had the opportunity. They made the promise of electoral reform. They promised to change the system so that kind of thing wouldn't happen. And they didn't go for it. They didn't do it. So anybody that tells you, well, if you vote for the NDP, you're gonna just help the Conservatives, tell that person Justin Trudeau promised electoral reform, and he didn't deliver. So they're the only ones to blame here. So if they want to act like, well, it's too dangerous to vote NDP or too dangerous to vote Green Party, tell that person. Tell that candidate. Maybe they come to your door and they say this, because they knock on doors, obviously, these MPs. If a Liberal MP comes to your door and you say, hey, I support the NDP or I support the Greens, tell them you could have changed. You could have helped change the system. You could have made it so that there wouldn't be a fear of the Conservatives winning and forming government if I voted for the NDP. So this is on you as a Liberal Party. So yeah, on that issue alone, I can't support the Liberals. Let's see what else is here. So Elizabeth May right now still has the highest job approval rating at 39%. So Jagmeet Singh's at 33. Elizabeth May, Green Party leader, at 39. Even though her party polls the lowest, or almost the lowest, at 11%. And then we got Trudeau and Scheer sit at 31 and 29% approval rating. So Trudeau's approval rating is higher than Scheer's right now. Both men also have higher negatives, with 54% saying they disapprove of the job Trudeau is doing, while 47% disapprove of Scheer. By contrast, just 25% disapprove of May and 29% disapprove of Singh. So there you go. It's kind of like, I really don't know what to expect from this debate. Like, there are things I hope, as I mentioned, I hope Jagmeet Singh comes out well. I hope people can see through Andrew Scheer, but I'm not so sure he'll be able to do it. So in terms of the way these candidates will kind of be facing off, I think you're going to see Trudeau focus mostly on Andrew Scheer. Trudeau will likely mention Doug Ford. Doug Ford is incredibly unpopular. He's the Conservative leader in Ontario. He's incredibly unpopular. So by trying to tie Doug Ford to the National Conservative Party, Trudeau will try to hurt the Conservative vote that way. And also at the same time try to coalesce the progressive or the left wing vote to his party by putting the fear in people's eyes. Oh yeah, we don't want a Doug Ford, leading the country. So that's kind of Trudeau's angle here. Jagmeet Singh, I think, will go after Trudeau, as he should. I also think he should go after Scheer, though I don't know how many votes you can really peel off to the NDP from the Conservative Party. I mean, your politics is weird and ignorant if you if you're like a hardcore conservative and then you go vote NDP, or the other way around. It's just I think there's a better shot at Jagmeet Singh peeling off support from the Liberals to his party than from the Conservatives to his party. And he'll also try and create a vision. Jagmeet Singh will, a new vision for Canada, a more progressive vision, a more forward-thinking vision. He'll discuss, I'm sure, dental care. He'll discuss pharmacare. So he'll try to, and his wealth tax. He shouldn't mention his wealth tax. So he'll bring these pieces up as a way to separate himself from the Liberals, of course, and also the Conservatives, and also the Greens as a way to say, hey, the NDP is the third major party in this race. And we represent a different vision for Canada. And Elizabeth May, I mean, I'm sure she'll focus on climate change, because I think that's part of the reason the Green Party has grown so much in support recently, at least before this recent drop that I've seen, is because there has been more discussion now about climate change, about the climate crisis in Canada. I mean, Greta Thunberg, of course, is a huge part of that, but also just the disasters we've seen, whether it's forest fires, whether it's hurricanes, whether it's flooding. So this is now more in people's minds, and they're actually seeing the effects right now, finally, of the climate crisis, and it's just going to get worse. So Elizabeth May will try and stand out as, the one leader here that really gets that issue. But it's hard to know. I mean, the Green Party is always a party that has support nationally. And, Elizabeth May, as you saw, has the most support as a party leader. But it never really translates to votes, because very rarely is there, strong Green candidates in these ridings. And I say that as a former candidate. So I was basically a nobody who ran in the last election. So I guess there's a potential in this election for them to pick up maybe 2 more seats, but it's hard to know. I do think right now it's looking like the Liberals will be able to win the most seats, form a minority government potentially, with the Conservatives gaining a bit, NDP I hope gain a bit, and the Greens potentially gaining 2 more seats. It's kind of the way it appears to all, or will play out. The People's Party of Canada, I'm not sure. I'm not really sure what they're going to do. I think Maxime Bernier will likely win his seats because he's a leader. But anybody else, I don't know. It's whenever you have a new party, it's hard to know how it's going to play. I mean, the hope is the People's Party will be able to peel off some conservative votes, though not enough to actually win seats. So by taking away some votes potentially from conservatives in important races, that will help, the Liberals or the NDP or the Greens in those ridings. That's the hope anyways. When it actually comes down to it, we've seen conservatives usually coalesce around one party. They usually vote pretty strategically and in terms of their desire to take power. But if you have Maxime Bernier hitting just the right social cues, hitting the right cultural cues, just to get enough of those conservative voters off the Conservative Party and onto his party, that could be the amount of votes that he needs to kind of take down the Conservatives. So we'll see about that. All right, let me go to the chat. Wait, here we go. Let's look at these approval ratings. But I will take some chat messages. I thought I heard some super chats. I'm not positive, so I don't want to miss those before I get off here, because I'm going to get off this soon, and then I'm going to go to twitch.tv/The Rational National, where I will stream the full debate. Let me put that in the chat now. So the full debate will be there. I'm not going to talk over the whole thing. Don't worry. You'll be able to hear the debate, and then, I'll chime in occasionally. And then I'll follow it up with an analysis. But what was I going to do? Oh, yeah. Super chats. Let me see if there are super chats. There are indeed. I think. No, there's not. I thought I saw that there was. Because somebody asked a. I don't think I asked this question last time. My last super chat. Or my last live stream. What do you think of Maxime Bernier comment of Greta? Did I read that last time? I don't remember. But I gotta say, I do not. I think I saw his comment, but I don't remember what it was. So let's check it out. Of course. Of course, that's the story. Bernier called a student activist mentally unstable, and Canadians think he went too far. Yeah. So, I mean, that's his party. That's the People's Party of Canada. Just completely ignoring, the science, the reality, just dismissing it and putting it into a little box of Greta Thunberg saying, "Oh, she's unstable," without addressing the actual facts around climate change. Bernier has been horrible on this issue. He said he wouldn't force provinces to do anything about climate change. So that's where he is. Here's the actual tweet. Greta Thunberg is clearly mentally unstable, not only autistic, but a obsessive compulsive eating disorder, depression, and what the frig? And she lives in a constant state of fear. She wants us to feel the same. Yeah, because you should. I want you to panic. I want you to feel the fear of fear. Yeah, because she is aware of the actual reality of climate change, you dipshit. Like, oh my God. Watch for this guy during the debate. He's going to have some serious eye roll moments. 100%. Yeah. All right. I heard some noise. Maybe that was super chat. Or members joining. One or the other. All right, here's one. Obi Alfred. Who's the guy with the pink head covering? That's Jagmeet Singh. So he's the NDP leader. He is Sikh, which is why he's wearing a turban. Yeah, he's leading the party that I support. So when you see the debate, which I will be live streaming again on Twitch, you'll get a feel for each of these leaders, especially if you're not, if you're not in Canada, you're not. Look at this chair. If you're not in Canada, if you don't know much about these parties or these leaders, Jagmeet Singh so far I think has been the most impressive. He's shown serious leadership qualities. As I said earlier, when faced with just people that are totally ignorant, racist, when faced with people like that, he's been able to talk to them a way where I guess if you want to inform people who are ignorant, racist, stupid, then he's done what you need to do that by treating those people as human beings, even though it's totally understandable if he didn't, and we should not expect that. But I think he's been solid so far. And I have to say, I've said this before, I didn't support him in the leadership contest. I supported somebody else. I supported Nikki Ashton. I also like Charlie Angus. I thought they were both more, more left-wing, more progressive on issues. But Jagmeet Singh won, and he's impressed me so far. So he's kind of won me over. All right. Oh, Gretzky also sent me a super chat. Thank you. Oh, another one. Let me check it. Gretzky says, "Do you think the People Party will hurt Canada long term?" That's a good question. I got to cop out and say I don't know, but I potentially, because it gives a voice to the racist, the ignorant, the anti-science, but at the same time, it also has the potential to expose how empty those ideas are, those people are, or how hateful they are. So look, if Jagmeet Singh has a moment here where he can go after Maxime Bernier and what he represents, that would be fantastic. Call out those idiots. That's potentially one way to kind of combat that. But I get what you're saying, that simply the exposure of something like the People's Party of Canada and their ideas on when it comes to cultural issues, when it comes to immigration, that having that platformed is a negative, just in general a negative, because it'll affect people more negatively than it'll help them. So even if you have someone on stage, calling it out and exposing it for what it is, just the very fact that you have those ideas being expressed on stage in a debate, I think has the potential to poison more people than it does in terms of, flipping them around and informing them on the issues. So yeah, potentially long-term it will hurt Canada, but there's also the potential that it'll take support away from the Conservatives, and it'll always keep, either the Liberals, the NDP, or the NDP in power. OB Alfred said, cool. Had a good feeling about that guy when I saw. Awesome. I'm glad you're informing yourself on Canadian politics. Cool. All right. About 15-2. Let me just get make sure I got no more super chats here. So again, going to Twitch, because I don't trust YouTube when it comes to these copyright things. Twitch.tv/The National. Is this coming out as a link? I'm not sure if it is. There you go. Click that. Click that in a new window. Save it. It'll go live automatically when I go live. And there you go. And I believe I'll be competing with some other people that are also streaming this, which is good. I like to see more Canadian political content online. No left turn stoned. No left turn stoned. Is that what your name is? Are you afraid the Greens, NDP, and Libs will split the vote and Andrew will win? That's generally what happens, right? So that's always the fear. That's generally always the fear, is that the so-called left-wing vote or progressive vote gets split among the Liberals, the NDP, and the Greens, and it helps the Conservatives. But Trudeau formed a majority government with that fear. So it's not always the case that it's going to work out that way. And this time we have, with the People's Party of Canada, potentially splitting the Conservative vote a bit more than usual. So there's also the potential there for his vote to be split, for Scheer's vote to be split. Gretzky says, Dave Rubin supports Bernie and had a fundraiser for him. Bernie. I think you meant Bernier. Yeah, he does not support Bernie. Yeah, he supports Bernier. So I didn't talk about that because here's the thing. When it comes to people that are full of hate, like Maxime Bernier, I don't want to platform these people. Until they actually have a platform, I don't think I usually don't think it's beneficial to talk about them, because they get their message out that way. So after this debate, I'll cover this debate tomorrow. I'll take some clips from it on YouTube. I'll do a segment on it, and I will likely use a clip or two from Maxime Bernier. But yeah, I don't think generally it makes sense to platform hateful people until they actually have a platform, and Maxime Bernier is getting the platform tonight, so we will have to deal with that then. But yeah, Dave Rubin, dipshit Dave, as I like to call him just now, dipshit Dave supports Maxime Bernier, of course, while being a classical liberal. Yeah, asshole. Okay, Twitch time. Go to Twitch right now. I'm going to stop this stream. I'm going to start streaming whatever feed I find, probably CBC, maybe somebody else. We'll see what happens. I think there's like 6 places streaming it, but I'll stream it. Again, I'm not going to talk over the whole thing. I know sometimes, some shows stream debates and they talk the whole time. You can't even hear what's happening. I'm not doing that because I actually want to listen to what's going on. But I will interject now and then, of course, with some comments. Hey, from the UK, AP Gamer, what's up? I think libs and cons are terrible. I agree with you. All right. I heard a noise, which was maybe a super chat. So let me double check. Nope. Okay, I think it was late. All right. Come over to the Twitch stream, and I will be live there in about 5 minutes. See you then.